the investment community and analysts this time around really went wrong on underestimating the supply chain impact that was going to be had by these companies. And we're seeing that across the board, not only in e-commerce and at Apple, but also in advertising as well, as a lot of people know has been going on in the fourth quarter. So I think that it was just shocking on how big this supply chain impact really was. And, obviously we all know that's a result of this once in a lifetime pandemic that we all experienced.
Well, looking at Amazon in more detail first, I mean, they're dealing with decelerating sales growth as consumers go back to physical stores, also these supply chain issues that you talk about. Does this change anything about the broader investment case equity story for Amazon?
I think that the impacts that we're seeing right now are more or less transitory for Amazon, and that they're going to come through fine in the end. After a quarter or two of this, the supply chain issue should ease, and Amazon should kind of go back to normal. But for us, what we really see are better opportunities now in emerging market e-commerce. Given we've all seen that kind of developed market penetrated e-commerce has more or less slowed down, we're looking at areas like Africa, for example, a company like Jumia Technologies, where we see accelerating growth ahead and a less penetrated market with less supply chain issues because the growth is really coming from a very low base.
Amazon's North America business, though, I mean, I certainly take your point around this not being the core for Amazon when it comes to growth. Still hugely important for their underlying business performance. And they've got some serious staffing issues. The company flagged increased wage costs coming in the months ahead. Is this just sort of what companies in this space are going to have to do in order to prevent shortages in the months ahead? How concerned should we be from a sort of wage pressure perspective?
I think that we should be fairly concerned. I think that the supply chain issues are really heating up right now. And, obviously the wage pressures we're seeing across the globe, as well as global inflation. So, we expect that these impacts continue really at least for the next quarter or two. We saw the major impact to Amazon's operating profit guide, the $6 billion impact that Tim Cook called out on Apple sales. And we just don't really think that that's going to abate in the very near future. But as we move into 2022, we should see some relief. But I think kind of across the ecosystem, investors should be wary and be looking at the cost structure of a lot of their companies, seeing are these companies that are reliant on shipping in goods from foreign nations where the supply chain is just really tight right now. Container costs are high, shipping costs are high. So if companies are exposed to that type of dynamic, I think investors should brace for weakened operating margins, as we've now seen from these tech leaders as we move through this third quarter earnings season.